Good morning. Okay, so we're gonna get started. Remember, so far, Bud, not Buddy, is being sent from his foster or from a group home to a new foster home with a boy that's 2 years older than him. We know he's never met his dad, and his mother died. And we were just reading about his suitcase full of things. Remember, he's really proud that he has a suitcase, and we were just about to read about the things. He checks it all the time to make sure everything's fine. There's a blanket, there's flyers. So we're going to start at the bottom of page 6 at across the top. Okay. I know we read that, but we're just going to read it again. Okay. So across the top of the flyer, written in big black letters, were the words limited engagement. Then, in little letters, it said direct from the SRO engagement in New York City. Underneath that, in big letters again, it said Herman E. Calloway and the Dusky Devastators of the Depression. Where have we heard that before? Herman E. Calloway and the Dusky Devastators of Depression. Zach. Yeah, if you couldn't hear Zach, he said the back of the book. Remember, that was the back of the book. That's what he thinks is his father, is that guy. So, those 6 exclamation points made it seem like this was the most important news anyone could think of. Seems like you have to be really great to deserve all those exclamation points all stacked up in a row like that. Next to the paper said Master of New Jazz. Then in the middle of the flyer was a blurry picture of a man I had a real good suspicion about. I've never met him, but I have a pretty good feeling that this guy must be my father. In the picture, he's standing next to a giant fiddle that's taller than him. That'd be like a cello, okay? So it like kind of is like a violin, but really, really big. It looks like it's real heavy because he's leaning up against it, trying to hold it up. He looks like he's been doing that for a long time. He must be tired because he has a droopy, dreamy look on his face. There are 2 men beside him, one playing drums and the other blowing a horn. It wasn't hard to see what the guy who must be my father was like just by looking at the picture. You could tell he was real quiet, real friendly, and smart man. He had one of those kind of faces. Underneath the picture, someone had writ with black fountain pen, one night only in Flint, Michigan, at luxurious 50 grand on Saturday, June 16th, 1932. 9 until, question mark. I remember Mama bringing this flyer with her when she came from work one day. I remember because she got very upset when she put it on the supper table and kept looking at it and picking it up and putting it down and moving it around. I was only 6 then. I couldn't understand why this one got her so upset. She kept 4 others that were a lot like this one on her dressing table. But this one really got her jumpy. The only difference I could see between the blue one and the other ones was it didn't say anything about Flint on them. I remember this blue one too, because it wasn't too long after she brought it home that I knocked on Mama's bedroom door, then found her. Put the blue flyer back in my suitcase with the 4 other ones and put everything back in its place. I went over to the big closet of drawers and took my other set of clothes out and put them in my suitcase too. I tied the twine back around my bag, then went and sat on Jerry's bed with him. Jerry must have been thinking just as hard as I was, because neither one of us said nothing. We just sat close enough so that our shoulders were touching. Here we go again. Okay. We're going to pause there. So we're going to pause there because I haven't created it today, but it's going to be part of your assignment tomorrow. I don't know if you guys noticed that these chapters don't have titles. I don't know if you noticed, it just says the number. A lot of chapters and books have titles. They tell you what they're about. So starting tomorrow, you're going to have some questions to answer. Cool. But you're also going to have a book-long project. For every single chapter, after we read it, you're going to name the title. Okay? Does that make sense? So you're going to get there'll be a Google Doc underneath the Bud Not Buddy section. Bud Not Buddy will have its own whole set in Reading RTI. And there'll be 19 chapters, and after it'll be like chapter 1 ... and you're going to title it. After reading that chapter, like, what would you call it? So you're going to get So if I was doing this, I might say, here we go again, because that's how Bud just ended the chapter. He's like, oh, here we go again. Or maybe like new home or something like that. So that'll be up. It'll be up today, but definitely for tomorrow, it'll be up. So I will not grade that till the very, very end, but you better have like all 19 chapters done when it needs to be done. Okay. So that'll be one of your assignments for this book. Like I said, it'll be for throughout the whole book. Okay. Are there questions on that assignment? Olive.
Will we have, is it going to be due the day after we finish the book?
Yeah, just like before. Yeah, it'll be due the day after we finish our book. So that won't be till like Thanksgiving time. It'll be posted on Reading RTI Google Classroom underneath the section that will say Bud Not Buddy. It is not posted yet. So don't look at it yet because it's not there. You don't have to do it today, but tomorrow you're going to have a work day. You'll have questions, like questions about the story. So there won't be a lot tomorrow. There's going to be questions for you to answer, just like we did with Diary of a Wimpy Kid, and that Google Docs will be up and ready for you to start. Okay? So you can't do it yet because it's not there. You can do it whenever you want to do it once it's posted. It's just not posted yet. Okay? I hadn't finished it yet. Okay? So does that make sense? All you have to do is name the title of the chapter. There'll be 19 little tiny phrases that you'll see once it's there. I'll probably do chapter 1 for you, to be honest, or I'll give you an example of chapter 1. Like I said, I would name it Here You Go Again, or Here We Go Again. Okay? So tomorrow, there will be no live. I'll just say that now. No live tomorrow. Instead, you will start naming the chapters, and then you will also have some Google Classroom questions to answer over what we've already read. Okay, just like what we did with Diary of a Wimpy Kid. So no live tomorrow. It'll be a work session. We are going to start. Oh, wait, we're not done yet. Nope. I'm just talking. I just stopped in the middle. Don't leave me. We still have 20 minutes left. We're going to start chapter 2. I just wanted to pause and talk about how you guys will be naming the chapter starting when I post it. So, chapter 2. There comes a time when you're losing a fight that it just doesn't make sense to keep on fighting. It's not that you're a quitter. It's just that you've got sense enough to know when enough is enough. I really like that whole 2 sentences right there. We'll hear it again throughout the book that, he said, if you're a fighter or if you're fighting for something, sometimes you just got to know when to give up. Not because you're a quitter, but you know when to stop. And I think that that's important, that some of us in our lives need to know when to stop. I was having this thought because Todd Amos was hitting me so hard and fast that I knew that the blood squirting out of my nose was only the beginning of the whole long list of bad things that were about to happen to me. Who is Todd Amos? We do not know 100% for sure, but if you remember from the last chapter, you might be able to give me a speculation. Who is Todd Amos? Olive, do you want to unmute yourself?
The dude from the 12-year-old boy from the family that he's going to.
Right. And Zach just actually said that is his new foster brother. So he's the 12-year-old, and apparently he's already punching poor little Bud. Todd's next punch crashed to the side of my ear, and I fell on the floor, pulled my knees up to my chest, and crossed my arms in front of my head like a turtle in a shell. I started scooching towards the bed, hoping I could get it under it. Todd started kicking me, but his slipper couldn't hurt me near as much as his fist had. The bedroom door opened, and his mother, Mrs. Amos, came in. It seemed like she was having a hard time figuring out what was going on because Todd's right leg got tired from kicking me, and he switched over to his left one while she watched. Finally, Miss Amos said, kind of soft, "Toddy." Todd looked up, fell to his knee, put his hands on his throat. He started huffing and puffing with his eyes bucking out of his head and his chest going up and down so hard it looked like he was some kind of big animal was inside of getting ready to burst out. This was my chance to get under the bed and pull the covers down so they couldn't see me. Miss Amos ran over to her son and fell on her knees. She put her arms around his shoulders. "Toddy, Toddy boy, are you all right?" She looked over to where I was peeking from under the bed. You little cur, what have you done to my Toddy? Todd coughed out. Oh, mother. He took in 2 breaths. I was only trying to help. He was sounding like a horse that had been running too hard in the winter. And look what it's gotten me. Todd pointed at his jaw, and Miss Amos and me could both see the perfect print in the shape of a hand welted on Todd's blubbery cheek. With one quick snatch, she had me from under the bed and out on the floor, lying down next to Todd. How dare you? This is how you choose to repay me? Not only have you struck him, you have provoked his asthma. Todd said, I just tried to waken him to make sure he'd gone to the lavatory, Mother. I was trying to help. He aimed his finger dead at me and said, and look at him, Mother. Mother, this one's got bedwetter written all over him. I'm not bragging when I say that I'm one of the best liars in the world, but I got to tell you, Todd was pretty doggone good. It seemed like he knew some of the same things I know, the things I think of all the time, trying to remember so I don't make the same mistakes more than 7 or 8 times. Shucks. I've got so many of them memorized that I've got to give them numbers, and it seems like Todd knew number 3 of Bud Caldwell's rules and things for having a funner life and making a better liar out of yourself. Rules and things number 3. If you got to tell a lie, make sure it's simple and easy to remember. So someone tell me, describe what events we just read about in our story. Someone give me a lowdown in your own words. Isabel H., your little volume didn't work yesterday, so I'm not going to call on you because it's probably not going to work today. Someone else, give me a lowdown on what is happening. Describe to me what just happened between Todd and Bud and all that shenanigans. Olivia, unmute yourself and tell me in your own words.
Todd, he was like being mean to him, and then the mom came in and he was saying that Bud was being mean to him instead of he was being mean to Bud.
Right, perfect. So Todd's just like a little bit of a liar. As far as we know, he was the one being mean to Buddy. He was the one getting beaten up. But Todd, as soon as his mom came in, was like, oh my gosh, it wasn't me. It was all him. And then Todd is definitely lying about being hurt. He's totally fine. And he's probably huffing and puffing on purpose, probably not really having, asthma right now. And he's saying he was just trying to wake up Bud to make sure that he went to the lavatory. Lavatory is another word for the bathroom. Okay. And we first officially saw our first rules and things number 3. We are going to see so many rules and things throughout the whole book. If you remember on the back of the book, it talked about how he's the author of Bud Caldwell's Rules and Things for Having a Funner Life and Making a Better Liar Out of Yourself. So these are the things that he tries to remember so he doesn't make mistakes more than 7 or 8 times, he said. That's like a lot of times to make a mistake if you're trying to remember stuff. So if you got to tell a lie, make sure it's simple and easy to remember is what is rule number 3. Todd had done that. But it wasn't really a good test because Mrs. Amos had her ears set to believe anything Todd said. In her eyes, Todd's mouth was a prayer book. But I can't blame Todd for lying like that. Having someone who likes you so much that they think everything you say is the truth has got to be a liar's paradise. That might feel so good it could make you want to quit lying. But maybe not, because Todd hadn't quit lying since the second I came into his house. What really happened was that I woke up from a good sleep because it felt like a steam locomotive had jumped the track and chugged its way straight into my nose. When I jerked up in bed and opened my eyes, Todd was standing right next to me with a yellow pencil in his hand. He was looking at it like a thermometer and said, wow, you got all the way up to R. He turned the pencil toward me. Crunched up against the headboard, I saw Ticonderoga printed on the yellow wood. The whole room smelled like rubber from the eraser, and I was wrinkling and blinking my left eye because it felt like something had poked me in the back of the eyeball. Todd laughed. I've never gotten in as deep as N or on any of you other little street urchins. I just might enjoy your stay here. Who knows what other things you could be number 1 in, buddy. I'd already told him twice my name was Bud, not Buddy. Okay, so that means Bud was having himself a nice sleep, Probably it was nice because he was like in a bed. And when he woke up, he woke up because Todd was shoving a pencil up his nose. So this is a Ty kind of wrote a pencil, and he said he could smell the eraser. So that means he stuck it at the eraser and got all the way up to like right here. Or maybe he came this way because then it would be the R. So that means he stuck it up like right here. He put this whole thing in his nose, which is dangerous anyways because your nose connects to your sinuses, which connects to your brain and your throat and all that. So he woke up because there was a pencil being shoved up his nose. That seems like a good reason to get in a fight with someone, I would think. So basically, Todd's a weirdo, shoving things up people's nose while they're sleeping. Would anyone like to be woke up that way? No, I don't think so. I don't think that would be fun. Yeah, I would think it would hurt a lot. So, and there it is again. It's Bud, not Buddy. I didn't care that Todd almost was 12 years old. I didn't care that he was twice as big as me, and I didn't care that his mother was being paid to take care of me. I wasn't about to let anybody call me Buddy and stick a pencil up my nose all the way to the R. So, fun fact, he's saying he didn't care if his mother was being paid to take care of him. If you have foster children, you get, you're not necessarily getting paid to take care of them. You get money from like the state to help pay for their expenses, like for their food and clothing and stuff. So that's what he's meaning. I swung as hard as I could at Todd's big balloon head. Somewhere between the time I threw my punch and the time it landed, my fist came open. And when my hand landed, it made a pop like a .22 rifle going off. Todd fell to the floor like he'd been cold cocked. He sputtered and muttered and felt the spot where I'd slapped him. Then a big smile came on his face and he stood up and started walking real slow towards I was on the bed. He untied his robe and dropped it to the floor like he was ready to do some work. I jumped to the floor and got my fist up. Tide might have been a lot bigger than me, but he'd better be ready. This wasn't going to be a bird's nest sitting on the ground for him. He could kiss my wrist if he thought I was going to let him whoop me without a good fight. Being this brave was kind of stupid. Even though Todd was puffy, rich old mama's boy who wore a robe and slippers, he could hit like a mule, and it wasn't too long before I decided enough was enough. So now we know why the fight started. Clearly, Bud did not start it, okay? It was obviously Mr. Todd who stuck a pencil up his nose. So rude. But the story that Miss Amos was hearing from her lying son was that only Todd tried to wake me up so I could go to the bathroom. Miss Amos hated bedwetters more than anything in the world, and my bed had a sticky, hot, smelly rubber baby sheet on it. She said it wasn't anything personal, and after I proved myself for 2 or 3 months, I could get a proper cloth sheet. But until then, she had to protect her mattress. She pulled Todd to his feet and led him out the door, and she looked over at me. You are a beastly little brute, and I will not tolerate even one night with you under my roof. Who knows what you would be capable of while we slept. The door shut behind them. I heard a key jiggle in the lock. Okay, so they just like locked him in this room after he was like bleeding and getting punched because of Todd. How sad. I plugged the right side of my nose and tried real hard to blow the smell of rubber out of the left side. The key jiggled in the lock again. This time, when the door opened, Mr. Amos was standing with Mrs. Amos. He was carrying my suitcase. Uh-oh. They'd looked inside. I could tell because the twine that held it together was tied in a kind of knot that I didn't know. This was wrong. They'd promised they'd keep it safe and not look into it. They'd laughed at me when I made them promise, but they did promise. Boy, Mrs. Amos said, I am not the least bit surprised at your show of ingratitude. Lord knows I have been stung by my own people before. But take a good look at me because I am the one person who is totally fed up with you and your ilk. I do not have time to put up with the foolishness of those members of our race who do not want to be uplifted. In the morning, I'll be getting in touch with the home. Much as a bad penny, you shall be returning to them. I'm a woman of my word, though, and you shall not spend one night in my house. Okay, so basically they're kicking him out is what she's saying. She's like, blah, 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 you're a terrible person, blah, 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 blah. But obviously he's not really the bad person. And we're on page 15. You should be following along with us. So she's saying he's not going to spend one night in the house. Okay, so where's he going to go if she's not going to call the group home till tomorrow? I don't know. She looked at her husband. Mr. Amos will show you the shed tonight, and you can come back in tomorrow for breakfast before you go. I do hope your conscience plagues you because you may have ruined things for many others. I do not know if I shall ever be able to help another child in need. I I do know I shall not allow vermin to attack my poor baby in his own home. Vermin would be like rats and stuff. So she's literally calling Bud a rat, and that, how could I ever let anyone else into my home because you've just attacked my child? But once again, did Bud attack her child? No, it was the other way around. But he's about to go sleep in a shed. That doesn't sound very fun to me. She talked like this, and it wasn't even a preacher or a teacher. Shucks, she talked strange like this, and she wasn't even a librarian. I only half listened to what Miss Amos was saying. I was too busy keeping an eye on my suitcase, wondering if they'd stolen anything from it, and thinking about getting even. When I thought she was done talking, I reached my hand out for my suitcase, but she told Mr. Amos, "Oh no, we shall hold on to his beloved valuables," she laughed. "This shall be our assurance that nothing comes up missing from the house, and that this little animal is still here in the morning. He is far too attached to those treasures to go anywhere without them." She is right there. He wouldn't run away without his suitcase. So if they have the suitcase with him, he's not going to be able to leave. Which, do we know if he wants to leave? We don't know what this shit is like. So Mrs. Amos was one of those grown-ups who could always think of one more thing to say. And that is not all. "Before you retire to the shed, you shall go to Todd and apologize, or I shall be forced to give you the strap-in of your life." I'd been so worried about my suitcase that I didn't even notice the thick black razor strap hanging out of Mrs. Amos's hand. She's saying she's like gonna beat him if she doesn't go apologize. I didn't have to worry. She didn't have to worry. I'd apologize. One beating from those Amoses was enough for me. She grabbed my arm. Mr. Amos walked out of the room with my suitcase, and Mrs. Amos pulled me down the hall to Todd's room. We stood outside the door listening to Todd groan. When Mr. Amos came back, my suitcase was gone. He'd been so quick that I knew my bed couldn't have been too far away. She tapped on Todd's door. "Toddy, may we come in?" Todd groans a lot louder. Finally, he says, "Yes, mother." Choke. Cough. "Come in." We opened the door, and as soon as he saw me, Todd got a real terrified look on his face. He scooched up to the headboard and wrapped his arms around his head, like he's trying to pretend like he's really scared of him. Obviously, once again, he's being a faker. Miss Amos gave me a shake and said, "Well," I put my head down and started shooting apologies out like John Dillinger shooting out bullets. I aimed at Todd first. "I know it was wrong of me to hit you. I know you were only trying to help me. I'm very sorry for what I did." I looked at Mr. Amos. "And sir, I'm sorry that I got you out of your sleep." He rolled his eyes like that was enough for him. Mrs. Amos was going to be the hardest because, just like her ears were set to believe anything that came out of Todd's lip, they were set not to believe anything I said. And if I didn't lie good enough, she was going to use the strap on me. These Amoses might look like a bunch of cream puffs, but if she was anything like Todd, I bet she could pack a real wallop. "And Mrs. Amos, I'm so grateful for all your help, and I'm really, really sorry." I looked up and could see she needed more. "If you give me another chance, I promise I'll do a whole lot better. Please don't call the home. Please don't send me back." Shucks. I'm going back to the home was just what I wanted to do. But I was being like Burr Rabbit in one of the books Mama used to read to me at night, when he yelled out, "Please, Burr Fox, don't throw me in the picker patch. Please, please." This was another one of Bud Caldwell's rules and things to having a funner life and making a better life of yourself. Rules and things number 118. Okay, that's a lot of rules and things. You have to give adults something that they think they can use to hurt you by taking it away. That way, they might not take something away that you really do want, unless they're crazy or real stupid. They won't take everything, because if they did, they wouldn't have anything to hold over your head to hurt you with later. Hold over your head with to hurt you later. Okay, so this poor guy's got all these rules and things. I stopped talking and gave Mrs. Amos a chance to jump right in. She held up her hand to my face. "Enough. Mr. Amos, give him a blanket and a pillow, and off the bed he was in and put him in the shed." Todd said, "Yeah, buddy, keep a sharp eye out for vampire bats in the shed." It was a miracle Todd's asthma was gone and he turned into a real chatterbox. That was Bud being sarcastic. "Oh, and watch out for those spiders and centipedes, buddy. The last kid who got put in there got stung so bad that he was swelled up as big as a whale when they got him out in the morning." I guess I didn't look scared enough because Todd kept going. "The kid before that hasn't been found to this day, and all that's left is a big puddle of blood on the floor. Isn't that right, Mother?" Mrs. Amos said, "Now, Toddy, hush up. You'll just tire yourself out more." I noticed that she'd never denied the things Todd had said about the vampires, centipedes, bats, and puddle of blood. As I followed Mr. Amos, I kept a sharp eye out for my suitcase. When we got to the kitchen, the first thing I saw that there was a double-barreled shotgun leaning against the side of the icebox. An icebox is a fridge. I didn't have time to wonder why they'd be so scared they need a big gun like that out in the open because I spotted my suitcase slid way under the table. I didn't let Mr. Amos know I'd seen it, but it did make me feel a lot calmer. We went out the back kitchen door and down the steps into the dark. We walked around to the back of the shed and he put a key in the padlock. A chain rattled, a lock came off, and the door creaked open. Even though it was a nightmare, there was a whole different, scarier kind of dark in the shed. A colder dark with more grays and more shadows. The old smell leaked out, and it seemed like there was the perfect smell that all the gray would have. Mr. Amos nudged me and took a baby step into the shed. He could kiss my wrist if he thought I was going to beg him and say things like, I'll do anything. You folks ask me if you don't lock me up in here all alone. I squeezed my tongue between my teeth to hold it still, because I know I had a lot of brains. I want to. You need to go to the bathroom. For you to show me your computer? Okay, then you can do that. I squeezed my tongue between my teeth to hold it still because I know a lot of times your brain might want to be brave when your mouth might want to be a real chicken, sound and stuff fall out. Okay, we are officially out of time. So your homework is to... Okay, actually you don't have homework. We'll just start up there. But tomorrow, remember, there's no live tomorrow. Instead, there will be chapter 1 and 2 questions. Obviously, not the very last page. Well, but there'll be chapter 1 and 2 questions, and there will be the Google Doc project that you're going to start where you name the title chapters, okay? See you guys later. This will be posted. So long. Goodbye, goodbye, goodbye.
You can